Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Distil-Nation NZ podcast. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Cameron.
Oh, always a pleasure.
Noticeably absent is Tynum. He's not here today. He's with his family, but we've got a special guest. Hello, Sarah. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Hi.
Thanks for coming on, and it's quite exciting because you and Cameron met up, and then you guys got chatting. And
we met at a marketing event, and I was like, all right, tell me what do you like, Sarah? And she said, I'm really passionate about spirits. And I said, you and me both.
That doesn't happen too often, so that was a pretty good...
It was great.
It was a very fortuitous meeting.
It was.
And so the more we talked, and what's even funnier is that this was a marketing association event about the power of podcast marketing and why you should have a podcast. And so when I was like, we need to catch up again. Believe it or not, I'm on a podcast and I want to bring you on.
I am a white man in my 30s.
It is my favorite line.
Yeah.
Now, before we dive in, because Sarah has so much value to bring, and I'm confident it won't fit into one episode, but I've got some general business to bring to the table.
I love it.
One, in the ongoing saga, at a different marketing event, which was about TikTok, and they had a TikTok rep there.
Yes.
And I turned up and I said, hey, why have I been banned?
Yeah.
And then she did some research, and she filed back, and she's like, oh, is this you? And sent me a link to my profile, and turns out I had been reactivated and no one had told me.
Because I had found it too, and because I had seen your St. Paddy's one show up, and I was like, and I commented, I was like, he's back.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so then I shared another video, was immediately blocked again, and then appealed it, and then a couple of days later, again, with no notification or anything else, I just found that I could log back in again. So I don't know if I'm going to get banned after every video, and whether it's a case of wait a few days and maybe I get restored, but I am temporarily back on.
Wow.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's dancing. With no clothes on, apparently.
I keep my shirt on. I do. The second point is that I got a message from, and I love when I listen to other podcasts and they say, we got friend of the show. And to have a genuine friend of the show, Chris from the Bluff Distillery.
Oh, yeah.
He reached out to say that he had been in contact with the Honourable Jerry Brownlee, Speaker of the House. Yeah. And Bluff Gin is behind Pint of Order.
Hey!
It is on the bar. So, big clap. So, we did a whole episode about how it was a big deal that one, does there need to be a bar inside of the New Zealand Parliament building?
100% yes.
And if they do, it would be nice if they had some New Zealand spirits, because we saw a picture of the back bar. We did have to be corrected because we said there was none, and we think that there may actually have been one. But when you're looking at one bottle out of a rough 30,
yeah, definitely,
we figured that wasn't. For a place that is about representing the people, we did not think that representation was good enough. And so, we're thrilled that Bluff Gin is on the bar.
It's one. There's at least two. Well, at least two.
And a question from me, like, what are the beers? Are the beers New Zealand beers?
Yes. So they had local beer and they had local wine. And I don't think anybody bats an eye at that because, especially in Wellington, you throw a stone and you'll hit a craft beer distillery.
Yeah.
Like... That's not a big deal. And again, you talk about the power and the value and the quality of New Zealand wine. Nobody bats an eye. The minute you start talking about spirits, all of a sudden, I don't know.
We should ask our MPs for an invite to Pint of Order one day.
Can you imagine if we did a podcast from Pint of Order?
Actually, that'd be amazing.
I mean, it would be amazing, but I feel like given we haven't exactly been the most positive commentators about the bar and what they have behind, we might have some ground to make up.
And also the fact you keep getting banned from TikTok.
well, that's... I don't see what that's got to do with anything.
Outlaw. TikTok outlaw.
Yeah. And then finally, on a very different note, the National Distillery Company out of Napier has gone into liquidation.
Yeah, the first sort of big domino, unfortunately. Really sad to see.
Because we were big fans of the Portavahuriri rum.
Yes.
And when that rum got into the Koru Club and was being poured on Air New Zealand flights,
That's right, yeah.
and we screamed that from the rooftops. We
Yeah.
were so proud. We thought that this is fantastic. That
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be serving a rum, to have
Yeah.
a really good New Zealand golden rum.
Yeah.
So, you know, they an incredible range of gin. They'd won Best New Zealand Rum at Spirits Awards.
They had gotten a good distribution in America
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago as well, which was nice. But very sad to see they had whiskey sitting in the barrel too. So I don't know what's going on with all the stock, or there's still hope for it.
It's very early days.
Yeah.
I would be going to where you can find stock, wherever it might happen to be, buy that bottle of Portavahuriri golden rum,
Yeah.
and hold on to it, because there is a very good chance that as those bottles get fewer and fewer,
Yeah.
they'll become.
It's great
rare.
rum, and
It is great rum.
Their gins as well, also amazing. Verdigris. There was like the hemp gin. There was a cat one. I remember the little cat one, whatever that cat's called. But yeah, they were all great.
But again, you talk about that being a domino, and how there's all of the people who work in the distillery. They had a couple of national reps who were going around, that they were always at Gindulgence and at markets. Like, there's a serious a company that size going into liquidation has massive knock-on effects locally and nationally. It's
And I'd reckon the government, if you had reduced our excise bill,
Yeah.
it might not be there.
But that was all I have brought to the table, and I'm very, very keen to hand it over to Sarah. So why? So we beyond our initial conversation of you saying I'm really passionate about spirits. Give us the 2-minute background of, like, here is why I'm on this podcast right now.
Okay, 2 minutes. I'll try and do it shorter. Okay, so I've worked in the drinks industry for like the last 12 years. I recently have moved back to New Zealand, and prior to that I was working in drinks in across Europe and across North America and some of the big global activations as well. So I was working with like the big guys. So my clients were like Diageo, Bacardi, Campari. I also was working with a lot of the brewers, so ABI, InBev, Heineken. And my role within my last company that I worked with was to work with those brands to try and enable them to grow. So we always were looking at what were the consumer opportunities, how were those brands turning up and activating, and when it came down to it, so we were always trying to help those brands to grow, but my big part of my role was to make sure they sold alcohol. Like, how could we help those brands to sell more, sell better, and engage with those consumers? So, I just love the world of alcohol. Prior to that, I was working in kids and family marketing, and
Wow! Please tell me that there's not a connection there.
there's not. But I was working a lot on the McDonald's account and with Coca-Cola, and it was great. But I was like, I just looked at I just loved alcohol marketing. I loved it. I just thought it was I love watching the ads. I loved going into store and seeing how they were turning up. I loved going in and looking, I still do. I love looking at a back bar. I love understanding how the bottles are set up. What are the mixologists doing? What's the server doing? How are they selling the drinks? I just love that whole world and what I find with alcohol, it's so fun. And you're it's also very few brands in the world or products in the world bring people together, and that's what alcohol does. And it's always just really appealed to me. So my speciality was very much in the world of innovation and understanding marketing effectiveness. So what were the brands doing to ensure they were spending their limited marketing budget the right way? And then making sure they're turning up in the most effective way to sell more in a bar, sell more in a retail environment, and then enable those consumers to have really great connecting alcohol moments.
It's funny you talking there about using their limited budget, because there have been a number of times where we've been talking about, what we could do if we had Diageo money, what we could do if, and so... And one reason I'm particularly excited about this is because, I don't know, we've used words like Diageo as kind of that. It's the
North Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, or kind of it's the I don't know, like the big bad wolf in the forest, and you don't really know what it's doing, but it just seems like this big kind of behemoth. And so to have a peek behind the curtain into what are some of their motivators, some of their trends, and I think most importantly, because we are our audience works in the industry, but they're also passionate about the industry. Tom is very much a manufacturer. I'm very much a consumer, but also a communicator of the message. So what is it that we can do to help distillers and people in the industry do to be better? But also from a consumer side, like some expectations about either our patterns or what we should expect about how we can engage. And I think if we can dive into that, it's going to be a very engaging conversation.
Definitely. And like I truly believe New Zealand's got some amazing liquids. It's got, as you pointed out, like great beer, great wine, but also like the untold story is like how great some of the spirits are. Like it's been so wonderful for me to come back the last 6 months and like explore the world of spirits here. And I just like a question that always I ask the distillers when I have the opportunity to speak with them, which I did earlier, is like to understand like why we're not selling more, like why are we only why are we not going bigger? Because I just feel like there's some amazing liquids that should be out there and should be enjoyed by the masses.
And, you know, I'm thinking about it now more because you asked me and I was sort of caught off guard, but I'm thinking because I ran a shop as well for a little while, and when you're purchasing, one of the hardest things is just doing that job, purchasing. And so usually you're given a few things, like, you know, you got your distributors, and it's so easy to go to that one website and like, okay, here's all these brands, I can just do this big order. But then if I need to get that one brand that doesn't have a distributor, that's a whole, I got to do the exact same thing, but just for one SKU, for example, you know. So maybe it's just an extra step sometimes, you know, that since we're so small that it's like sometimes it's like either we're forgotten about, or you know, if it's there on the distributor list, it's easy. It's like, oh yeah, I'll have one of those. But if it's not, it's just like, oh yeah, I haven't got time for that today. I'll do it another day, and then you never get to it, you know, or something like that. I think a lot of times it's that, but it is going to be price as well. There's no doubt about it. You know?
Oh yeah, like as I said, like working with the big drinks brands, we were there to enable them to sell more, and that's what every spirits company should be doing, or every like local distiller like needs to. You got to sell there's no point in like what you're saying, like sitting on your stock. You got to be selling it. It's got to get into the hands of the consumer. Yeah. Did you read some of the comments on the Facebook like posts from the National Distillery shutting down?
Yes.
They were sort of there was a big crowd of people who were like, oh, too expensive, you know, craft stuff's never going to sell. And then there was other people really defending that sort of, look how much the tax is, you know, look how like we, you know, we're here for it, but look, the government's not helping them at all, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very big crowd of, I can go get the $30 Jack Daniels, or like, you know, no, like you got to support because they're getting hammered by the government, you know? It's quite interesting.
And an interesting point around tax is, no matter the size of the alcohol company, we talk about tax. Like, tax is the biggest cost in making alcohol. It doesn't matter if you're a Diageo or if you're like a hobbyist, like, tax is the biggest cost and the biggest bane of frustration.
Well, that's good to know.
We have done whole episodes just on tax, so you are absolutely preaching to the choir here.
Now I got to ask, why come back to New Zealand? Like, you've been in the big metropolis of it all. Why back here?
Have you ever lived overseas?
I'm from Canada, so I've lived a fair bit.
I feel like New Zealanders that go abroad just all of a sudden get the call of home, and I never thought that I would. I was overseas for 20 years, and all my friends were slowly like peeling off and moving back to New Zealand, and I would almost be like a little judgy about that. It's like, why would you go back there? I also had on my head a really warped perception of what life was like in New Zealand. So during COVID, I came back, which I thought was going to be a 6-week stint, came back for 18 months. And it was during that time I actually got my eyes open to what life was like in New Zealand, because prior to that I was just coming back for like a month, maybe like, you know, 8, like if I could push it to 6 weeks. Over the summer I was just like, experiencing the summer fun of New Zealand. But during that time I got to see like there's actually like really awesome like jobs. So people are doing some great things. I had this perception of life that was probably stuck in like the 80s or 90s as to what a career would be like in New Zealand. And so it was that that time I got to really understand and speak to some of my friends and truly find out what they did for jobs. Really had the opportunity to understand and learn about some of the brands and what they're doing here, where the economy is going, and I really got to enjoy the New Zealand lifestyle. It was great. Like here in Canterbury, like you can swim in the morning and then you can like work all day. You can even, like, I was working like the night shift, so to speak, to cover off my meetings, and I was snowboarding during the day. I was like, this was not, you cannot do this in London or New York. And that was a great sort of driver and a pull for me to come back. So after COVID, I went back to the UK, and with sort of like the understanding that I was counting down the clock. And then the company I was working at last year went through a big acquisition, and that was just sort of like the time for me. It just seemed like the natural time for me to sort of like part ways and make the move back here.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's funny, yeah. You guys, you're New Zealanders with your OEs and stuff, and then people come back, and it's like, I don't get it, but yeah, hey, it's good.
I could also leave again. It's just I'm like, it makes sense for me to be here right now.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's great. I've got a really big overarching question.
Yeah,
if I
go
can
for
ask
it.
you. So I've just got a couple here, but what's the biggest thing you've learned working with the big brands? What's the one thing that stuck out for you?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that stuck out for me, and it's probably almost like the theme of what we're going to talk about, is they are just always like, they're so obsessed about their consumers. So it's probably one of the biggest differentiators I've noticed coming to New Zealand and speaking with some of the, not just spirit brands, but all brands in general, where here in New Zealand we almost like to, we enjoy the craft of making a product. And then we go and find like who we're going to sell to. And sometimes we're not even thinking about that. We just sort of like put it up for sale and like maybe they'll come. Where the big drinks brands are so obsessed about their consumers, who they're selling to, why they're selling to that consumer at that particular time. And it's that whole consumer first mindset just gives you a whole different perspective when you're creating liquids and thinking about how you're going to turn up in a marketing environment. So it's that whole, like, always just, they know they really know their consumers. They have so much data about their consumers too. They are sitting on like piles and piles and piles of data. They don't make a move without having a bunch of data and test and learn. But again, the testing and learning to make sure that their hypotheses about their consumers, which they know very, very well, is correct. And then they go in. Where I just don't feel like that mindset, it's in pockets of some of the companies I've spoken with in New Zealand, but it's not really something, I don't know if it's just maybe a little like un-Kiwi in that approach, but that like very consumer first mindset, like almost like blinkered, like just thinking about their consumers.
Wow. That's intense, eh?
Yep.
So that's really good to know, actually. So many ideas in my head just thinking about that. The data, I guess, is a huge part of it, yeah.
Yeah, like I would say Diageo was almost like a data company first and an alcohol company second sometimes.
I could see that.
The way that we, like, the conversations that you would have with some of the teams, it was just all about, it's only by chance they were selling alcohol. And not all teams were like that. The brand teams were very much like in love with their spirits and what they were creating. Like there was no more passionate team than the Guinness team. Lived like they almost felt like they'd won the job lottery by working on Guinness, especially if they worked on Guinness in Ireland. But some of the other teams that maybe when you're just sitting in front of like a spreadsheet looking at numbers, you did sort of like question what were we selling, but it was they're just like rigorous about their data.
Yeah.
Does that lead to tension at times? Because you will have the marketers and the people in the office on the one hand saying we need to be moving in this direction, and you might have people on the ground who are actually making the liquid going, is this a phase? Is this a gimmick? Is it no, for the craft we need to be going in this direction? Does that mean sometimes where you've got the is it head and heart or data and the craft, or is there sometimes a tension in there, or is it a largely kind of united front?
It's a united front. I think it's twofold. So firstly, once you start talking about numbers, all the emotion goes out of the conversation, rather than like the whole, well, I feel like a great, like, one is like, oh, I feel like red's the colour of the season just because I feel like I'm seeing it, where you're like, okay, well, let's go and like look and do some research and find out, is red really the colour of the season? And then you can like, so you just change the conversation when you're like, you've got some data there and you just start having a very unemotional conversation. And then secondly, you've got the distillers, and once it's like rooted in data and it's been proven, then they get given a lot more money to have a bit more freedom and then start playing. It's then that then they're almost like they're playing in the right space rather than sort of like, I don't know, like spraying and praying and hoping something sticks type of situation.
I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've done a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And again, so Sarah and I, we've had a couple of conversations prior to sitting down, and you said that you hadn't tried. You're trying more all the time, but there's still much that you haven't explored in the way of New Zealand spirits. Shall we have a sip on something?
Yes, please.
All right.
That's what we're all about.
Is indeed. Oh, there we go.
It's a great
Not
sound.
Not too bad.
So what's this?
This is a single malt whiskey from Sandyford Distillery in Dunedin.
Sandymount.
Oh, sorry, Sandymount Distillery. Yes, Sandymount Distillery in
that
Dunedin.
smells awesome.
It is 46%. They have a wonderful story about. They are a carbon neutral distillery.
Awesome.
They've got solar and they've got planting schemes, tree planting schemes. They're on the Dunedin Peninsula.
Yeah, because recognise the image there.
Oh yes.
Yep.
And they also, on top of the tax that they pay, they make their own donations to public health initiatives because they firmly believe in being a strong part of their community. So, Copper Pot Still, run by Solar Power, and this is, I do believe it's an ex-bourbon barrel.
Awesome.
But yes, I thought it was a great place to start.
Yep.
And yes, interested
Can I
in
look
some.
at the bottle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I like the cabbage trees on the side.
Me too. I like how it's not too heavy as well. Like a lot of brands like to talk about sustainability and then put their liquid in the world's heaviest bottle.
That's true.
and the thing about that is like this is what goes into the consumer's hands.
Yeah.
Like anyone that's passionate about sustainability and is buying with a sustainability mindset, like you could do all the messaging in the world and then they pick up the world's heaviest bottle and they're like, well, actually, that is going to cost a lot of money to ship and like high embodied CO2. It's almost like you're failing at that last, like that very last moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that sticker didn't come off of that. But they do make. They're more known for their gin. They make an incredible amount of gin, and the single malt is more of a seasonal release, as in when they make it. But it's quite.
Yeah, this was what, the second batch, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've had this, so cheers.
Cheers.
That silence as everybody just sips and chews. It's quite light.
Yeah.
Nice sweetness there, some vanilla, some malt. But I certainly thought, as an opener,
Oh, that's awesome.
great place to start.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that one, yeah, he's done a really good job at just making a really easy to drink, but full of flavour. I feel like that's quite heavy and oily still,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is great. Because, yeah, you don't like it when it's too thin, right? But there's nothing obtuse about it, you know, there's nothing that's pokey or... Yeah, it's just an easy drinking single malt, you know?
And that's, I think
46%, right? So it's,
the biggest problem is that I do not know if they have any available right now.
Yeah.
And if they don't, when is the next batch coming out? I couldn't tell you. But absolutely, if and when they do release some more, I will be going back on the website.
yeah, highly recommend that one.
Yeah, that one's awesome. Thank you for introducing me to it.
Oh, so welcome. Side note, this is part of what I love to do, and I love to, get liquid on lips and share some stories and have somebody go, no, that's not for me. What else have you got? Or, hey, wow, yes, I'm going to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very good at that, yeah. I did appreciate, I don't know if we talked since your last tasting, but your last tasting was the Unusual Neighbors.
Oh, yes.
Which was a really good tasting, where you brought in. I'm going to try and remember. There was definitely Mexico, Thailand.
Yep.
India.
Yes. Yep. So.
England.
Yeah, England for me was the wild card. So the corn whiskey from Mexico, the single malt pecan from Thailand. Then it was the, England and.
Oh my gosh!
Japan.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The Japan was like the easy pick because it was like it's a very Scotch style. It was really nice.
Yes.
But I personally really enjoyed I thought for me the wild card was the corn one, and I think for most people, because it tasted quite mezcal-y, tequila-y, to be honest. And I mean, it totally spoke to me. It was heritage corn. I mean, I've done heritage corn, so I was right in. I didn't even know that you could get that in New Zealand, to be honest, which is surprising. So I feel like I was going somewhere with that point, to be fair. But
just finding strange things and getting them in front of people.
Yes, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Yes, anyway. That was a great tasting for getting all those weird things in front of us. I think everyone in the room that night was like, none of us have ever tried any of this. This was really cool. And yeah, that was one of your, I would say that was a top two or three for me for your tasting. So well done. Yeah.
High praise.
I want to ask, going back to you, biggest myth that you think small distilleries encounter with marketing.
Ooh,
and of course you might not have worked with the small distilleries as much, but maybe just looking at it, or is there something that you look at small distilleries and you're like, I think they're thinking about the wrong thing, or something like that,
Yes, so I think it goes back to that whole consumer piece. So what I've been loving about speaking to some of the distillers here is like they're distilling almost like for the passion of like the liquid that they're making, which is amazing. I love it. But at the same time, I've asked a few of them, like, so what's the signature serve here? How should I be drinking that? Like, what if it's a gin? Like, what's the perfect tonic? And is there a garnish recommendation? And it's almost, and I've been to some of like the gin festivals, and I asked this question, and then you just almost get like deer in headlights. Like, no, like I've just made a beautiful gin. It's like, that's great. I love that. And I know what to do with a beautiful gin. But someone who's not as well versed in the world of like spirits might be like, well, you're asking me to spend between $50 to $150 on your gin, depending on what the bottle cost is, and you're not telling me how to drink it. And that's sort of like, for me, the easiest, like, just get in there, start experimenting. It's the easiest way to win over that consumer. It's not even the consumer, it's the easiest way to like win over and have a conversation with a bartender. So what I find here, like back to the bar in the Parliament, which again like is mind-blowing. There's not like a whole array of like amazing spirits behind the bar there, but like there's no reason we can't be going in, like some of these like smaller distillers can't be going in and speaking to some of the restaurants, especially the restaurants that are really into like local provenance. Like, why can't they have like a local gin, a local whiskey, a local rum, and go in there and like show them your liquid, tell the story of you and your liquid, but then also tell them how to use the liquid. Like, tell them how to craft like a beautiful gin and tonic. Tell them how to like make the most outstanding martini with that gin or that vodka, whatever you're bringing in. Like, tell them like how to drink your whiskey. Like, is it a mixing whiskey? Is it a whiskey that you just drink like at the end of a meal over the rocks? Like tell them about like how to
what's
really
the experience.
What's the experience?
Yeah.
Because that's what consumers are doing. Like, they're going in there and they're having a drink experience. And we almost we make this assumption that bartenders, if you give them a liquid, they're going to have a bit of a play. Well, that's not always the case. Like, not the way the hospitality industry is these days. You have some bartenders behind the bar that are wearing the cap of a mixologist, but all they're doing is pretty much making a gin and tonic and a rum and coke. They don't have that skill, the know-how, how to make something different. They don't know how to make a cracking old-fashioned. Like, how long you need to stir that old-fashioned for to get an awesome old-fashioned, like, actually up on the bar. So you just need to get in there, spend some time with them, like almost like give them the collateral to be your brand ambassador, so they start selling your drink when someone asks them like, oh, what do you recommend? Because 9 times out of 10 a consumer will not turn down a bartender's recommendation. If you go into, like, a great example, if you go into a bar and you're like, oh, I really fancy something like refreshing, I've had a tough day at work, like I just want a really cold crisp beer, and if the bartender's like, oh, hey, like just give me a moment, I'm making some cocktails down here, we've got some really beautiful gin in at the moment, and I'm just finishing off some gin and tonics, like that will nudge that consumer to buy gin and tonic. So give them the language, the collateral, like the know-how, the confidence to sell your liquids by telling them how to use them.
That is really good.
One of my biggest fails was we're going to a festival. It was a night one at Larkham Vineyard, and it certainly wasn't the biggest one that we'd gone to by any stretch, but I had some spirits there, and people were coming up and they were trying some of the whiskey that I was pouring, and were then saying, well, what can you do? And I'd naively gone there, well, I drink whiskey neat, so everybody who comes in to buy this whiskey is going to buy it neat. And they very quickly went to the other places around that had a cocktail selection.
Yeah.
And that was a very steep learning curve to me, that the audience that comes to my whiskey tasting events will sip it neat. That's what they're there for. They come to a festival, they absolutely want a cocktail. And I think, too often, even for something like, if we take this for example, what is it? One, convincing people that if you are buying a single malt, you can and should 100% make cocktails with that. And if they are pointing you in that direction to say, hey, you're going to make a killer old-fashioned, or hey, my recommendation is the whiskey sour, or as I have just started to see recently, there's one brand in particular, a Kiwi brand, who's saying, you've got to go to these bars, because these bars are the ones that have it, and ask for the penicillin. Wink, wink. and like, right, that's kind of me just seeing this now, put that together with what you were saying, like, okay, actually, don't expect people that they're going to buy a bottle, whether it's whiskey or gin, and just think either my only options are I've got to drink it neat, or add an ice cube, or add some tonic water. I don't want it to be hugely complicated. I don't want to go out and have to buy 7 other ingredients, but do give me something so that I can go, hey, I can recreate this at home, or yes, I can go and order it out.
Totally. It just gives them guidance as well. Like, give them flavour profiles to play within. Like, so not every bartender wants to be, like, put in handcuffs of how to use your liquid. But if, like, you're working with a mixologist that knows what they're doing, but also go in there and have a conversation with them and be like, have you noticed these undertones of these notes, or have you tried making this cocktail with it? Like, just go in there and, like, be the partner. And I think some of the big alcohol brands are great at this. They partner with bar chains. Obviously, they're doing it on a much bigger scale. They partner with the bar chains to then enable those bartenders to be making the right drinks. Like, go in there and they identify, like, a problem. Like, so for a number of years, like, you go to the UK and, like, you get a gin and tonic with, like, 2 pieces of ice, and it was just a very disheartening experience. And then the gin craze took off, and you bet your bottom dollar that Bacardi and Diageo and Campari were in there talking to the bartenders and talking about how you need to fill that glass to the rim with ice, and you need to be using a large glass so that the drink breathes, and, like, oh, you don't have the right glass, we'll give you the glass. And then you have a really amazing consumer experience where you just have, like, a 10 out of 10 gin and tonic. And a gin and tonic's pretty simple to make. It's just a bit of gin, a bit of tonic, glass to the rim with ice, and then a garnish. But it's like, and then all of a sudden you're serving it right, and then that bar can start charging a lot more money for it. And the way that consumers discover and get the liquid on lips is through, more often than not, through the trade. So the entry point of, like, a $10, $15, $20 cocktail is much more palatable than, like, hedging your bets on a $100 bottle of gin. So you go in there, and if you have, like, a phenomenal gin and tonic that the bartender's excited to sell and tell you what the gin is, and then tell you what the tonic is, then you'll go home and you will buy that gin and you'll buy that tonic and you recreate it at home.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely something people will do. I've seen that before. And to be honest, for the first 5-6 years of this distillery, everybody asks me, what the heck do you mix a moonshine with?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whatever you want, really. And I'm just, because I don't know, I do just drink the 50% original straight when I want to. And I literally spent this week making a cocktail page on my website
Awesome.
for that exact reason. Was just that so many people ask me, and I have not spent the time in all these years to actually really figure out where to direct people's attention. I think that's huge.
And did you start drinking the moonshine that way, or did you slowly sort of like develop your palate to get there?
For the cocktails?
Yeah, just for the way that you drink your moonshine now.
Oh, yeah. I think beforehand I was already drinking whiskey straight,
Okay.
And so when it came to actually making it, I just ended up drinking it straight anyway. And I've never been a huge mixer of drinks.
Okay.
I'm bad at it, and
Yeah.
I'm still bad at it. But like, like I can make an old fashioned that's okay, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, I'm not a good mixologist,
Okay.
but sometimes I can find a good mix of flavors. Like I know for sure, like my maple moonshine, you mix that with something lemony, citrusy, sour.
Yeah,
it's
yum.
a banging mix.
Yeah.
So even if you just go get some Sprite and mix it with that, it's a great drink if you want something super simple. But you can go whiskey sour with it and get really weird as well. So,
So a lot of what we do with the big drink brands as well is we think about like how do we introduce the category to new consumers, and we more often than not introduce the category to new consumers by like cocktails. So you don't usually go straight from like sipping like a really peaty, insane whiskey after never having like trying whiskey before. Like you might often you got to like develop your palate, and that's the same with like tequila. So you're finding like people are like the entry level tequila is like hopefully a margarita rather than a tequila shot, and then you start expanding and exploring and getting into those like smoky peaty mezcal. So you got to think about like introducing so Diageo is a great example. Like so the Gordon's is like a very easy drinking, a little quiet on flavour gin, but it's very intentional that way. It's the gateway gin. And then once you start enjoying like the gin and tonics and the Gordon's like cocktails, they've got different flavours now as well. And then you start moving into the next category up, you start premiumising and you move into the Tanqueray. And then you move up above that as well. And then they've got I can't remember what it's called right now. They've got one that's like a Japanese style gin. So you start moving your way up through the category as your like palate develops.
Right. That makes sense for them. It's having so many options available.
And if you don't have the options, it's like you just start making like recommended cocktails that just are a little bit more easy drinking, maybe a bit more like spritz sort of like focus that just...
Yeah, you need like step ups as you go, right?
Yeah.
The basic drinkers, the seasoned drinkers sort of thing,
Yeah,
right?
like just it's the same. Our palate for alcohol works exactly the same as with food. Like you don't usually go straight into the mega hot like curry at your local Indian house. Like you work your way out from mild, medium through to hot.
Fair enough. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. But it speaks to, because quite often, look, everybody's got a finite budget, and having worked with some alcohol brands, and I feel like at that time there was a lot of focus on the way to get bartenders on board is to ply them with merch, and we've got to come up with a range of merch, and what is it that we can give them that is then going to and then the discussion was, well, if we can't make a cheap whatever it is, it's got to be a quality for them to wear it and to keep wearing it. And
Mr. Waiheke whiskey. Oh, sorry. Didn't notice you were wearing some merch there.
He says, in a very warm hoodie and a very lovely beanie.
Really high quality.
Yeah, yes, they are indeed. Not that I had anything to do with either of these. But I feel like that was we went off in a whole direction there, whereas actually, as you say, develop a couple of cocktail ideas and try and spend a Monday afternoon or something along those kind of lines in a bar, and to show them, tell them the story, but then also don't give them that super premium vodka and say that it's got to be drunken neat over ice, because how many consumers are going to be doing that?
Yeah.
if I'm hearing what you're saying, it's if you want to sell more liquid, come up with, 2 super traditional kind of takes, and then maybe 1 kind of premium pour.
Yep.
Get those in front of some bartenders and say, hey, look, what if you made your traditional gin and tonic with this, but then if you were to make a rose syrup or something along those kinds of lines, then you can make this and then this premium kind of style, and then that can be a signature kind of cocktail.
Exactly.
That's not... You don't need a massive budget to be able to do that, to tell your story, get it in front of people.
You just got to spend some time playing with your own liquids, and then having your story, like having your cocktails laid out. Maybe like do a bit of pricing, work out how much it's going to cost the bar to make this like cocktail. So you're going in there and you're not telling them to make like this is your $30 gin and tonic. Go in there like work it out. Make sure you're using. Like you can definitely like with the premium one go a bit like, because right now there's this whole trend where more is more and people want these like very premium experiences, so you can go and you can recommend that, and then for those premium experiences consumers don't mind spending a lot of money for them if they think it's worth it. But again, like with the other two, like maybe like at a price point where there's like still a decent amount of margin, but there's still like it's a good entry level, and then have those conversations. But when it comes to the trade, so definitely it's super important for the trade, especially because hospitality is struggling right now. They probably aren't spending a lot of like time and effort training the staff just because there's high turnovers, and like do you really want to spend an afternoon like training bartenders cocktails when you've got so many other things and you're on a skeleton staff and you're just trying to like keep your business afloat? So going in there and like being that partner and doing that as a distiller is almost like a great way of like alleviating some of that pressure. But it's not just the bartenders that want this information. The at-home mixologist wants it as well. Like the at-home mixology market is absolutely booming, and there's like an at-home mixologist wants the intel. They want the information to enjoy a great tasting, great looking cocktail at home. Like they want the bartender like knowledge and know-how. They want the tools to make the cocktail. They want the right piece of glassware to make that great cocktail for themselves. So that whole sort of like right now with what's going on in the world, it's pretty dire. So we like to give ourselves little small treats to make ourselves feel better. So that Friday like relax and unwind like drink gift to ourselves has become quite important as a ritual. But then also we like to impress our friends. We like to have our friends come around and have that like Sunday barbecue, and then be able to like offer them something that's like not just, I don't know, an RTD in a can. Like maybe like it could be a premium RTD in a can with like, ice to the rim with a nice garnish and a nice piece of glassware, or something that you've like created yourself and you're sort of being presented as that host that knows what they're doing in the world of mixology. So like everyone wants that knowledge. And it's like a gift to the at-home mixologist and to the hospitality bartender scene.
So last weekend I went to the Winter Festival at Divergence.
Oh, yep.
And after that I went to Bunnings and invested in a $6 butane lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Because I have got a rosemary bush that's gone out of control. And so I then went home and I cut some sticks and used this. If my investment was $6, I don't mind. Burn the end of these roseberries, and now all of a sudden I have a very nice limited edition gin with in the ice, in the glass, with this gently smoking rosemary stick coming off the top.
Awesome.
And I have spent, I had the rosemary bush already at home that I needed to be cutting some more off of.
Did you set the smoke detector off?
I did not. I'm okay with that. But, for a $6 investment in a butane lighter.
How good, eh?
Yeah. But also I am...
But also you've got a new gin.
I'm an absolute sucker for a limited edition.
But then also, like, next time you have your friends around for a dinner party, like, how posh are you going to be looking, like, cruising around with your like...
Smoked,
your smoking cocktails. Like, it's just that, like, we want to, like, be there like creating great drink.
But even as you say, if you've got a nice RTD and it's in a can, but all you do is
take it
put
out.
it in a glass and do something nice to the glass. Like, how cool is that?
Totally. And like, I love a spicy margarita. And there is a spicy margarita RTD can that I'm quite a fan of here in New Zealand. And yeah, all I do is I have some really delicious salts that I've bought. I didn't even make it myself. And then I just like put a bit of lime on the rim. I salt it, fill it up with ice. I crack open that like spicy margarita. And yeah, I feel pretty pleased with myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all it takes is that little bit of presentation.
Yeah, and I could make that like drink from scratch, but the fact it's in the fridge, it's chilled, like, and then I have friends around. I'm like, oh, and I have like 3 different variants, and then I'm like, do you want the spicy margarita or do you want the charred pineapple margarita? Like if I know they're coming around, I could even like char my own like pineapple, but it's just.
With a butane lighter.
With a butane lighter.
Yeah.
But it's just those little bits to just elevate that drinking experience.
So this one here, limited edition, which I'm a sucker for. 16 botanicals, which I certainly feel is more than what Divergence normally does.
So, yeah.
But also what intrigued me and what I bought a cocktail there and enjoyed that before buying this. Maybe you can pick it up. They have lightly peated their spirit as well.
They're really leaning into this, aren't they? They're leaning into the smoke lately. Yeah.
And yes, which is so funny from our first conversations with Anthony. Was like, I don't enjoy smoked spirits. I don't enjoy peaty spirits.
He's very anti-smoke. You know, he was never going to make a smoked whiskey. Yeah.
And it's, I think, bringing Jack on board. And yeah, I think...
I totally get why you're doing the rosemary. That would go perfect with this.
Yeah. It is a lot going on.
It is a lot, yeah.
But for anybody who says, I drink gin in the summer and whiskey in the winter, this is a gin that bucks that and says, oh no, this is a warming, hearty, wintry, and it could be a gin and tonic, and you could just flash it up with that one garnish. But I feel...
I think it would make a great martini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's complex. It's like there's a bit more going on.
Yeah, like, you know, I know we've been saying simplify your gins and stuff, but there's still a room for these ones when they're done really, really well. Which, yeah, this is really, really, really well.
And Jack did ask me, because they had a limited selection for sale, and he asked me which bottle I'd wanted because they had all been painted and each were different. And I said, that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and choose one based on
somebody actually went and painted it like on the label.
Yeah. So that was how they differentiated these from their regular bottles.
Right.
Was it's all a custom paint job.
So you know, people spend thousands for the individualized bottles. Like Diageo do that with Johnny Walker and their cityscapes. Like they sell them at the Dubai airport, and they are like a couple of $1,000s a bottle.
Yeah, that is Dubai. Like, let's not go crazy. But I figured that if you what they did, which was one, open up the distillery, and when I went down, it was humming.
Yeah,
absolutely humming. They had people sitting outside. The inside part was full, and they were running tours. So one, I was just pleased to see that they were busy. They were offering tastings of this. They had their gin and their whiskey, but this was very much the highlight, and the 3 cocktails on the menu all featured this.
Oh, wow.
But if for any reason you said, okay, this one isn't really my thing, then you could substitute any other one of their gins into it.
Yeah.
And then saying that this is not going to be on the website and the only way to try this and to buy it is to come along to our Saturday market. No, it was just the whole event that they did and created. It was fantastic.
It's been good that they've been doing those. Yeah, they've been doing them like a couple times a year. Hey, yeah, it's great.
All right, what's next? Where do we move to?
I want to ask what you think is happening with young people.
Great question. So back to the big drink companies that they're all about Gen Z. Like they're obsessed about Gen Z. And the way that we create marketing campaigns, and not just marketing campaigns, like the way that we decide what they're going to invest in terms of like a liquid, or if they're going to launch a new innovation liquid, is to like see what the consumers are doing and see what's happening in terms of like socio-economic like shifters and changes, what's happening with their values, and that like they're so focused on Gen Z. So Gen Z is their like most important like cohort at the moment, or demographic,
Right.
and they are a very interesting group of individuals. They are like just a walking contradiction in like a really great, wonderful way, and their behaviours are now influencing other demographics too. So they're changing the way and the landscape and the structure of like drinking. So they're creating like new occasions, and it's all down to the fact that there's this whole sort of like myth that Gen Z aren't drinking. So we hear a lot of stats around like 8 out of 10, or maybe like, is it like 4 out of 10 Gen Z is not drinking. Yes, but 6 out of 10 still are. So we can't like disregard them. Also, there is this whole like they're not actually not drinking. They're just choosing to drink in a very different way than perhaps we did when we were that age. So they have created an idea of called zebra striping when they go out. And they will very easily shift and move from a non-alcoholic to an alcoholic drink as the night goes on. Okay. And they do it within the same category as well. So if they start the night with like a gin and tonic, they'll move from like a non-alcoholic to an alcoholic gin and tonic to a non-alcoholic gin and tonic, and that's how they do their night. They do it with beer as well. So they go from like non-alcoholic to alcoholic beer. And so they're not totally abstaining from alcohol, they're just drinking it in a very different way. Yeah. They also might go out, say, 3 nights a week, and maybe one night of the week will be completely alcohol free, and then the other 2 they may choose to drink. So that's very different from so the other demographics that will either be like someone that drinks and then someone that's like completely teetotal. In saying that, the style of drinking is now filtering down to all demographics. So it's happening now. There's more great options on the market. You're finding people around our age are doing the same thing, like maybe not as intentionally as Gen Z, but they are definitely like someone choosing to drink a non-alcoholic drink now. We're not making an assumption that maybe they're pregnant or that they just don't drink. It's more like, oh, they're just choosing not to drink tonight. So it's great. So that they're driving that whole like non-alcoholic scene, and also the wellness. So adding a wellness spin to a lot of like cocktails. They're doing that also. But the biggest shift that they're creating and changing within the drinks industry, which I think is quite exciting, is they are bringing the time of day that we drink when we drink earlier in the day.
I've heard this, yeah.
So there's no longer like, they're not really like, I suppose here in Christchurch is a great example. Like Christchurch's only sort of like real nightclub is just closed this week, Hyde. They just aren't really finishing the night at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, like I suppose people their age and our demographic used to do. They're choosing to start the day a lot sooner. So there's this whole new drinking occasion called the day cap. And so Gen Z now are liking to finish off the work day or the Saturday at like 6 o'clock with like the end of day drink, the same way that we would have like our end of night drink at like 2 a.m. And saying that it's not the same drink, it's not the same cocktail, it's usually something a bit more lighter. So it's very much where the Spritz is playing in there. It's like a long mixed drink. It's usually got a lower ABV. Also with the day cap, it's merging and blending with it starts at lunch and it sort of finishes when the sun goes down. So you've got now the mixing it a lot with food. So you have to find a wine alternative that could maybe sit within the spirit space. Or you've even got some of the wine brands now, such as Kim Crawford, bringing out the non-alcoholic wines. So they can all because you still want to have an adult drinking occasion. And I think this is what you need to be very mindful if you start playing in the non-alcoholic or the low alcoholic space, is you're not just sort of putting a fruit juice there. It has to be an adult drinking occasion drink. And so that you've got the non-alcoholic wines, you've got the low and the non-alcoholic beers, you've got the non-alcoholic cocktails, and so that whole day is now merging. And then you've got, so back to how do the big brands win in that space? They're adapting and changing their liquids. So a great example of that is Absolute's just brought out a spicy vodka. they've partnered with like Tabasco sauce, and the idea is that they want to be like the vodka choice for a Bloody Mary.
Right.
Or spicy cocktails are also like super trendy. So you've got like the like the mango and spicy martinis, and like they want to start playing in that sort of space. So they want interesting like flavor profiles that sit within there. They don't really just want like a hard liquor cocktail. They want something a bit more refreshing, a bit more like fruity, and so that all plays within that day cap. Like drinking occasion, and like those bottomless brunches where maybe you start like 11 o'clock and you're done by 4, and then they get their 8-9 hours of sleep and then get up and go do their run club the next day. Like it's just they don't want the day before to impact tomorrow. So it's just a very different approach to drinking. So that whole, I don't think we need to be worried that they're not drinking. It's just a case of thinking about how can I tap into that demographic in an authentic way and create a drink experience that taps into the zebra striping, or like has that like day cap, or the brunch that so if you are going to think about creating cocktail solutions for like the trade, maybe have a think about like, oh, what can one of my cocktails be that could fit within that day cap drinking occasion.
It's funny because I get a lot of people who come up to me at events, and younger usually, and they say, oh, like, tell me about this, like, I'm so interested, how do you make it, I'm just, oh, here, have a sip. Like, I don't drink, I'm just really interested. I'm like, oh, that's all good, yeah. Like, and I'm just like, oh, this is such an interesting, but it's happening more and more, you know, and I'm like, well, this is really interesting. You're interested in it, you don't drink it, and that's great. I'm like, that's fine, whatever, because it's, I think that's a good idea, really, for most people. But, yeah, it's just so interesting to me that people are still interested in it, but not actually drinking sometimes.
Yeah. Or maybe they're not drinking right now.
Yeah.
Like maybe they'll drink next month.
Or a month off.
Or the day off. So, and the thing about Gen Z is they love, like, they're just drinking much better. So they are like great if you're trying to sell like a premium drink experience too. Like a great example of that. So right now within the market, so champagne sales are up, but sparkling wine isn't. So they're just like investing in premium liquids, and they don't mind paying like for one great, delicious, awesome cocktail or drink versus 2 or 3 bad ones for the night. Like they're happy with one drink and being out.
Right.
See, when I think about a work event that I went to 2 years ago, and they had some beers and some RTDs, but I knew that I was driving home. And so when I decided, okay, well, I can't have any more beers. I've had my 2 for the night with food. And then they had Coke. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Versus this year, where they had a whole range of zero beer options that weren't terrible.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I felt like, okay, I might stay out a little later. I might actually... And so I see that in the beer category and in the wine. But in the few 0% spirits options that I've seen, sometimes the price of those bottles can be just as much as a regular bottle of spirits. So how does a local spirits brand show up in that space? Or is this more from a hospo consumer point of view?
No, so it's a great question. So you don't need to be creating a non-alcoholic variant. If you can, great, awesome. To your point, the price point is the same as the alcoholic without all the tax. It's hence why the big drink companies love the no and low category. They make a lot of money from it. So if you can get out there and create a great tasting no or low spirit alternative, and I didn't drink for a few years because of like health issues, and oh my gosh, like the work you have to put in to find some great liquids, and when you do find them, they're like, I don't care how much they are. Like I literally don't care. I will buy them. The other alternative is to maybe like tone down your ABV. So there's a great brand here in New Zealand, and I think it's called like Lady H. And she has some beautiful like gin cups. So the lower ABV, and they're intended for people that just want a lower like gin drink cocktail, and you mix them in a large glass with like some type of of like soda or tonic. And so you can start just offering cocktail suggestions that are like just maybe a longer serve, like so maybe a single shot with the soda. Like the spritz is a great category to start exploring in, and you don't need to be that the spritz categories have been like reinvented. You don't have to be like a gin-based liquid to play within the spritz category. So like maybe think about creating something that could like, be a spritz, be a long drink, or maybe start offering what you already have, and can you play around with the ABV and just offer like a lower ABV volume. So and what's great about that is when you go into the trade, they can have they have a cocktail, and this is what's happening globally actually with some of especially the really like the more like cocktail first bars. They are offering an espresso martini that has like a normal ABV, and then they're offering either an alcohol free or a low ABV version of the espresso martini. So again, it allows that zebra striping, so you can have one full strength, and then your next one can be like a low ABV. And you're also seeing it with some of the RTDs as well, where you can buy packs now in the States that allow you to mix up the different RTD. You don't just have to buy one type of gin and tonic, you're allowed a whole range, and they'll have a mixture of the ABV levels.
So basically it sounds like it's full strength or no strength. Is there room for mid-strength? Because
definitely a mid-strength.
I'm just looking up because I remember Roots has done a mid-strength gin. Remember that came out last year, and it's like...
So I've noticed that some wines have so you've got the Kim Crawford that have the 14%, the zero Sauvignon Blanc. There's also other wine brands outside of New Zealand that are like toning down their ABV. So that's like, again, because it ties in with that day cap. Like you want to have like your nice long lunch, or you want to have your 3 o'clock like to your sundowner, and you want to have maybe 2 glasses of wine and then still be able to drive and then like function the next morning if you've got young children and go to work. So definitely and within the world of spirits, there is totally space to start offering a lower ABV option, and consumers love it. And that Lady H one's a great example. And my aunt, when I mentioned it to her, just was so excited. She went to Ballantyne's and bought some of the bottles just so that she just doesn't want to drink so much anymore because of she's on a certain type of medication. Yep. Everyone has a reason as to why they want to sort of have more of a holistic wellness and more intentional approach to drinking. And by offering that lower ABV, if you can do it, great. But if not, just start thinking about how you can offer that drink in a cocktail solution that dilutes the ABV somehow.
Yeah. So for people listening, I do think we've got Broken Heart Spirits in Queenstown. They do a 0%, which is really good. I do remember that was probably my favorite one. I haven't tried the Roots Light, which is 14%, and I think also Sandymount did one too, which is about 14% as well. Lady H is a good one. Yeah. And there's not many more, to be honest. But if anybody wants to go try them, absolutely. They're around. There's a few around. So.
See, and there are a couple of brands that are making a premium gin, but also have a different label for a more discounted kind of gin. It would, thinking aloud and spitballing here, would be easy enough, I guess, to do a similar kind of thing where you have your premium gin that you are making. But what if instead of just making a cheaper gin alternative that was still 42, 46% or whatever, have that spritz version where you're selling, it's cocktail in a bottle kind of just at ice.
Well, totally, cocktail in a bottle, or just add a bit of spritz. You start making playing within that gin cup space, or just there's a lot of opportunity there, especially spritz. So the big alcohol companies no longer consider spritz to be a cocktail. They actually now consider it to be a category, so they have category play for it, and they try and get every single one of their variants into a spritz format just because it's exploding.
Wow.
And again, just back to, it's no longer just the sundowner. It's now also the it's a great option that you can have at like brunch. It's an option that you can have that is an alternative to wine with food. It's a category that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, or a cocktail that doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Very exciting.
All right, we'll wrap this one up, but
Yep.
with one more question, and then I think we'll do another episode because you're
There's so much here.
Yeah,
I'm pumped. I'm so pumped.
yeah.
I could talk for days.
I know we could too, to be honest. But we would do it. So do you think that the drinking, which classically it's been we're going out after work drinking,
Yep.
has it come second now to the actual experience? Like we're actually just going out to hang out. We happen to have a drink. Is that the new experience? Is that the new drinking?
It's a great question. So I still think we need to reframe the idea of we're going out for a drink as being an alcoholic drink. We're going out for almost like an adult drinking occasion. And so it doesn't have to be like a couple of pints of beer, or it doesn't have to be like a large glass of like wine or a gin and tonic. It just needs to be like, it could be any of those, but they could be alcohol or non-alcohol. And the thing about like right now, we're in this middle, like there's a loneliness epidemic happening globally, and any way we can get people to come together is like it's gold. And alcohol and the drinks industry and the adult drinking occasion does that. So I just don't think we still are going out and we're having it's not about the drink, it's about the connection of bringing people together in community, but it's the thing that sort of brings us all together. I also whenever I've been working through marketing strategies, and we're always talking about let's create a ritual because everyone wants a ritual. How do we there's no stronger ritual in the drinks industry. Apart from maybe playing sport or singing in a choir that brings everyone together, than everyone doing a shot. The nastier the better. Because you're just you're all sharing that moment of pain. You all talk about it. First of all, you say you're not going to do it, and then you get convinced to do it, and it's all this fun game about that. Then you all do it together, and there's if there's no if it's not tequila, then you never have a shot without cheersing. And then afterwards you sort of you go through the feelings together, and there's just that one moment of true connection. And apart sort of sport and singing in a choir, I just don't think there's much of any other alternatives.
Yeah, it's that third place we've talked about before.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's dying off, isn't it?
Yeah, so I do think they're still getting together and having a drink and having that relax and unwind. I just don't think a run club, everyone finishing up work and going for a run, is going to create the same sense of community. And I've been part of run clubs in London and New York, and you always do stop and you have a drink afterwards. So some of the run clubs in London have breweries that they're linked to them, and they have a non-alcoholic beer on tap. And then sometimes some of the run clubs take you to a cafe and you will stand around and you have a coffee. You have to have something that brings you all together, and definitely that drinking occasion, that adult drinking moment.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't think it's going anywhere.
That's true. I mean, I'm playing hockey and ice hockey for New Zealanders, since I have to say that. And you get to go to play the game and you kind of talk to people, but the only time you actually get to connect with them is, hey, let's go for a beer. You know? So that's so true. And to further that point, when I moved to New Zealand, I think one of the things that kind of kept me going was I actually had an allocated evening. It was Whiskey Wednesday for me with one of my friends back home, and we'd hop on FaceTime.
Awesome.
And we'd just drink whiskey and chat,
Yeah.
And it was just the whiskey to me, it was secondary to the occasion in that case, but it was meaningful, and that it really helped just to have a reason. Each week we'd each try a new whiskey, we'd just chat about it and whatever else was going on in the world, and it was good connection,
And one thing I love about my whiskey tasting events, yes, here is another plug, and it's that sometimes a group of people will come through, a group of 4 or 6 or whatever, and they ask to be seated at their own table, and that is fine. But what I love is when a couple comes in, another couple comes in, a third couple comes in, and I seat them at a table together, and then after I tell the story of the first one, introduce the first one, and then I'll go to that table. Hey, what did you think about that? What did you think about that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're sitting there, and one person says, "Hey, I really like this. I'm getting a note of X." And I'm getting that too. Oh no, I don't like this one. It wasn't for me. Oh, okay. There's three couples
meeting.
who did not know each other, who all of a sudden united over this one thing. Whether they like it or hate it doesn't really matter. But I have sometimes seen people exchange numbers, and then I've seen people that are coming back independently to one of my events, and then going, "Oh, hey, good to see you again. Hey, can I sit at your table?"
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I love it.
Beautiful.
All right, Tom, bring us home.
Well, listen, that was really cool. I think we'll continue this in another episode. So thank you, Sarah. This is awesome. In the meantime, for anybody listening, you can catch up with us at Distil-Nation NZ on socials. Send us an email if you have questions, comments, blah, blah, blah. We want to hear from you. We always enjoy it. Distil-NationNZ@gmail.com. So thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Cameron. No, I'm just joking. Thank you for bringing the drinks. That was awesome.
And the merch.
Yeah. You're our living mannequin, yeah.
Merched up.
See you on the next one. Cheers.